young mage, come in, said. I am First Enchanter Orpheus of the Circle of Magi here in the Tevinter Imperium. Please have a seat. I understand that you just arrived from Starkhaven, is that correct? You've done well to make it here to the Tevinter Imperium, where mages are not only revered, but have so much power. I have heard many tales of your travel. If I understand correctly, you fought off no fewer than 20 Templars from the Starkhaven Chantry. That is no mean feat for any mage, and shows quite a bit of promise. You could be quite powerful, strong enough even to stand at the right hand of the Divine herself. But first, you must go through training. Now, would you care for a drink? I do have ale that's been imported from Kirkwall, straight from the Hanged Man. It's said to be some of the finest in the Free Marches. Excellent. Here, allow me to pour you a pint. There you go, mage. Drink up. I believe I'll have some as well. Now, if I'm to understand correctly, you actually have never had any formal training from a Circle of Magi, is that correct? I see. So that means you've also never encountered a harrowing or any of the other traditions of the so-called White Chantry. That's good. That's very good. So you've lived as an apostate then, more than likely been branded malefic harem by the White Chantry. I see. That is one of the great lies of the so-called White Chantry. They say that blood magic in and of itself causes madness and demonic possession, but these things are not true. Any malefic harem was depraved long before he picked up a knife to spill blood in the name of magic. Not only that, but I will be the first to tell you that blood magic in and of itself does not promote demonic possession, or at least not in my personal experience, and I've been First Enchanter for many years. I have taken a personal interest in you, young mage, so I am going to be the one to train you in the ways of magic. Yes. Well, for combat, at least, most mages channel their magic in whatever form it's in, through a staff. The quality of the staff does determine how well the magic can be channeled. The materials used and the craftsmanship both determine the quality for its use. And then, of course, there are staves that were magical artifacts, but that's a completely other story that we'll get down to at another time. For now, know that you will be practicing fine control, aim, how much power you draw from the Fade. All of these things are important. But the biggest thing to keep in mind is your mana. Mana is to magic as air is to breathing. Without air, you cannot breathe, and without mana, you cannot draw enough power to cast a spell. There are also rare instances where a mage draws far too much magic, more than he can physically control with this amount of aptitude, or mana, if you will, and it ends up causing the death of that mage. I'm going to train you to control your mana so that this is not a concern. Also keep in mind that there are physical objects that can speed up your mana restoration process. So, after you've burned up your supply of mana, normally when you would have to rest, you may be able to continue your magical use, either through a mana potion or some other such means. There are also artifacts and pieces of equipment that have been enchanted so that they increase your ability to draw power from the Fade, either through dwarven enchanting or some combination of enchanting and lyrium. Yes, lyrium is a naturally occurring resource that allows any person, magical or not, to come into contact with the Fade much more strongly than they would have previously. There was even a recent report that I received that Knight Commander Meredith from Kirkwall was in possession of a sword made from pure, raw lyrium. Yes, it caused quite the stir. It drove her to a sort of insanity. She was put down by who they are now calling the Champion of Kirkwall. I believe the champion was also named Viscount shortly after the Knight Commander's death. Yes. Lyrium, when used in its raw form, can be dangerous. It's required for a good many magical rituals, and for use in enchanting and other things. However, dwarves are typically trusted to handle such matters. Living in the underground as they have, they not only are immune to magic, but cannot use magic, and have a built-in resistance to lyrium. Yes. Yes, I see. So you've handled lyrium before, then? I see. Tell me, young mage, do you dream? Quite strongly? And what do you dream of? I see. So you've encountered demons and spirits in the Fade. This is good news and bad news, I'm afraid. You see, demons are drawn to those of great power, or sometimes simply great emotion, but I would assume the former. Yes. Anyone capable of fighting off more than a battalion of Templars on their own would have to be quite powerful indeed, even if untrained. Yes, right now you would be classified as what is known as a hedge mage. You've had no formal training, but you still independently developed your magical powers. Sometimes hedge mages have unknown abilities. However, I sense none of these from you. Well, here in the Tevinter Imperium, there is always the opportunity to become a Magister. Magisters are almost like noblemen or politicians would be in other nations. However, Magisters are only ever mages. There's never been a Magister who was not a mage. For those without magic are but the common man here in Tevinter. Yes. Well, you see, though Andraste said that magic must not rule over man, but only be used for his good, what is good for man exactly? Magic ruling over man can be taken several different ways, young mage. It might not necessarily mean in a governmental fashion. It could be that magic is meant to be controlled at a personal level, and without the freedom to study magic and use it, then magic will indeed rule over man. And that is why we have a magocracy here in the Tevinter Imperium. Because if we handled things the way they do in all other nations, then mages would be subjugated, chained, made tranquil, And there is no tranquility in being made tranquil, not when the mage is unwilling. No, child, there's never been a willing, tranquil mage, but once made tranquil, they have no emotion left to object. Tevinter has not gone to war with the rest of the world in quite some time. We of course still battle with the Canari, but that is another matter. First, young mage, I am going to have you meet with another Magister here in the city. He is the son of an old Magister whose name was Denarius. Denarius was killed in Kirkwall by an acquaintance of the champion just recently. Yes, well, Denarius' son, whose name is also Denarius, by the way, would seem to be the height of narcissism, if you ask me, but it is what it is. Denarius is quite skilled at controlling mana and drawing just enough to accomplish his means, whatever those may be. He will be a good tutor for you. As the first enchanter, I am quite busy, so I will be bouncing you around from tutor to tutor for a time, and when your skills have increased to the point where I can teach you what I know personally, then you will study under me. Please know that I am no easy taskmaster, but then again, learning to control your magic is no easy task. And we treat abominations the same way here as they are treated everywhere else. Yes, abominations must be killed on sight, because even though a normal magister is almost always clear in his intent, an abomination is an embodiment of madness and depravity, the final stage of being a maleficarum, if you will. For the mage is no longer in control of his own actions, but shares that control with a demon, and more often than not, the demon shares the larger portion of that control. The demon wishes to only see magic used for death, mayhem, and destruction. Yes, they are quite terrible indeed, but know that even summoning a demon is not always a straight shot to possession and becoming an abomination. There are things that you can do to protect yourself, and the demon need not always get what it wants. We have rituals in place that have survived the test of time, that date all the way back to the worship of the old gods, which was quite long ago indeed. And do not trust when someone says that it is magic that caused the darkspawn. No, there is no true proof of that, nor is there proof that the archdemons are indeed old gods. Just know that blood magic is frowned upon in public here in the Tevinter Imperium, but behind closed doors, that is another matter. Do not bring up the subject of blood magic unless your tutor brings it up first, and always try to feel out how he feels on the matter. Unfortunately, I have no more time for you today, apprentice. Go, speak with Denarius at his mansion, and he will train you in the ways of controlling mana and mana manipulation. He will most likely push you to your limits, so be prepared. I have instructed him to keep several mana potions on hand in case you become too fatigued. I would not waste potential unnecessarily. Now go, and study well, for you one day may become the first enchanter.